this is it. We're finally here. It's the debut of CHGO Fire. I'm Pat McCraney. He's Alex Campbell. We're going to be with you for the next 45 or so minutes to have a lot of fun, and we have absolutely no shortage of stuff to talk about.
We're going to be here live every week. It's going to kind of be whatever the news of the week is. And this week, Pat, man, we've got a lot of it. We're going to dive right in here in a moment because the Fire, though the season's been a little slow to start off, the stove has been boiling this week with Fire transfer news.
Before we get to Chris Mueller, we need to tell you this show is presented by PointsBet. Use promo code CHGO when you sign up to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. We got to start with Chris Mueller. We thought when we were planning the show, we were going to start with Jairo Torres, but the Chris Mueller thing is blown up. I have learned, I tweeted within the last hour or so that Chris is in Chicago undergoing a medical as we speak. My sources are telling me 95% chance this gets over the line. You never know if something crazy could happen, but there's a 95% chance this gets over the line by the deadline tonight, and Chris Mueller will be on the Fire, meaning this team has gone from having nobody on the wings to 2 really good wingers, including a guy who's an MLS proven winger, and he's a dude from Schaumburg to boot. So it's pretty cool having him. Assuming this gets over the line, it's going to be pretty cool having him here.
Yeah, free transfer from Hibernian in Scotland, played 15 games for them, 1 goal, which doesn't sound like much, but again, you just mentioned he's a proven MLS winger, 42 goal involvements in about 120 games for Orlando. We've also really talked about and just seen it this season has been a common theme on Fire Twitter and fan circles that there's just not enough pace in this team.
Oh, it's a disaster.
Yeah, and there were questions about, is Jairo Torres that guy? Because he's more of a guy who likes to play between the lines, maybe not a stretch winger. No, Chris Mueller is going to make those runs from like the wide wing positions, kind of angling toward the middle, in behind defenses, constantly, all game long. This should be like a perfect fit for what the Fire really seem to need in the attack.
This is a guy who would eat the Fire alive when he would play against us for Orlando, so it's going to be pretty cool to have him. And it would drive me nuts knowing that he's from Schaumburg. He's from here, and yet he was playing for Orlando. He's a Soccer's FC guy, so everybody up at Olympic Park in Soccer City have to be very proud that he's going to be coming home. But, it's going to be, I don't want to jinx anything. I'm told 95%. If it gets over the line, he's going to be absolutely massive. Mueller on the left, you would think. Jairo on the right.
I think it could be really fluid. I mean, we saw a couple people asking us yesterday, well, what about Shaqiri? I think Shaqiri stays centrally because with his age, his fitness.
Yeah.
I think Shaqiri running less, generally good. But, I mean, Shaqiri is comfortable kind of floating out to that right side, cutting in on his left foot. So having Torres and Mueller really does offer you those possibilities. Mueller, not a guy who you're going to see play in the middle a lot, but Shaqiri and Torres being
Torres could be. He did for Atlas.
They could drift around a lot. So, again, that's the other thing. Not only the Fire are getting a player who's going to provide that pace and that goal-scoring provenness in MLS, they get versatility, which is not something we've seen. Ezra Hendrickson's lineups have been very similar. I mean, we basically know what it's going to look like when everyone's fit, and it's kind of rigid. This team, especially going forward, I think could use a little more fluidity in terms of how they bring the ball from defense to attack.
It's been downright boring. As good as and as stout as they have been defensively with Rafael Shihas taking over for Francisco Calvo, it is not a mess back there anymore. Wyatt Omsberg's been tremendous. Miguel Navarro is a guy who I thought was a bust after 2020, especially after that last game. He has proven me wrong. He's been solid. Boki's been solid for years now. The back line is good. We've got Federico Navarro in front of them, which pushes Gaston up, which is a good thing. So that part, and then Gaga. We'll talk about Gaga later in the show.
But we've got more on that later.
But that part of the field has been set now, and has been, I believe they still lead MLS in as far as fewest goals allowed this season in all the league, not just the Eastern Conference. So that's, if you got to start with one or the other, right? I think if you're building a team and it's borderline ridiculous that the Fire are rebuilding again this season, but they made the right moves to start defensively, get that set. They've got a defensive-minded coach as a former defender, but Ezra has an idea of how he wants to play going forward. The idea has been to this point, get the ball to Shaqiri. Ezra has not, shied away from saying that. Get the ball to Shaq. and let him do things. Shaq wasn't there for a few games with the calf injury.
We saw how that went.
Yeah. So, and I almost felt like as good as Shaqiri is or can be, they're putting too much on him. Even Shaqiri, a $7 million man or whatever it is, they were putting too much on him, and he needed help. Having these wingers, especially Mueller as a stretch winger, will help open up space underneath for Shaqiri, which should in then turn provide better service to Shabilko, which should get this finally out of the mud and rolling, which would be a nice thing to see, because it's been, your joke has been bet the under for the last several weeks, and
well, it hasn't worked the last couple weeks.
Last two, no, but
not in the Fire's favor. We're going to talk more in our next segment about that frustration, but also on Mueller. I mentioned it's a free transfer. It's not totally a free transfer. There's some incredibly MLS-y details.
Oh, my God. Go into this, please.
Paul Tenorio, who initially broke this story that Pat then confirmed, followed up on the reporting that says this is going to cost the Fire $500,000 in general allocation money, $250K this year, $250K next year. Also, the Fire have traded their first overall draft pick in the 2023 MLS Superdraft, first round draft pick, I should say, to Orlando City. Also, the discovery rights to an unnamed player who could literally be anybody. So again,
Messi. It could be Messi.
It could be Messi. It could literally be anyone.
It's one of the more ridiculous things about MLS is that there's discovery rights for guys that no one discovered.
Basically, though, the skinny of it is the Fire did not have to pay a transfer fee to Hibbs, but they do have to pay $500K to Orlando City, which all in all, for someone who has had the production of Mueller, not a bad price tag.
So there's this kind of pattern here with the Fire in getting guys where it's a guy whose level of production was high 2 clubs ago, but at his last club, it was not. So, and I tend to look at Chris Mueller's 2020 production. I believe it was 10 goals, 7 assists in 22 games that year. He was absolutely phenomenal. It dropped off a little bit in 21. And for Hibbs, I think you said he only had 1 goal. Is that right?
And it wasn't a league game. It was in a Scottish Cup game.
Right. So, you know, it's similar to other instances where we've seen, like Shaqiri, for example, bad in France, which is why he wanted out after such a short time, was good for Liverpool, but that was a star-studded Liverpool team he was on, obviously, was phenomenal at Stoke.
Phenomenal as you can be at Stoke.
As one can be on a rainy day in Stoke.
Yes. So, I mean, the Fire, obviously, this is a big move here, but it kind of like almost stole the thunder from themselves because Jairo Torres is a Fire player now. And Jairo Torres presented at an event last night in Pilsen with Chicago Fire fans, was introduced at a news conference yesterday. You know, you talk about a guy who was very successful very recently at his last club.
That's the difference, yes.
Yeah, helped Atlas win their first title in forever. He scored on Saturday in his final game.
The only goal of the game.
Yeah. For Atlas, scored against Tigres. That was his goodbye to the club, very fittingly, and he might be walking right out of the Atlas team last weekend and into the Fire team this weekend, potentially.
Ezra said he's going to give him minutes. Now, whether he starts, we don't know. I could see Ezra starting him, considering the wing situation with everybody else, but I'm very excited to have him, and I felt like I was a part of yesterday's news conference, and I felt like there was something very interesting about Jairo Torres in that he didn't shy away from the fact of saying that I'm a guy who wants to perform really well here so I can go to Europe, which is...
I like the honesty because for a while, especially I think of like the Atlanta United era, everyone was kind of afraid to say the quiet part out loud, except Don Garber and MLS HQ, like being very clear, like we want to be a selling league. And despite the fact that the commissioner was saying that, the players, the coaches, the soccer staffs, the technical staffs wouldn't say that. I admire that we're being very clear what this is. This is come to Chicago, try to play awesome for like 2 years, and go make yourself and the Fire a huge bag of money at the end of it.
I do not mind it at all. It is. We know that's what's going on, and so it was actually refreshing, I thought, to hear him say that.
Yeah, shout out to Lawrence for the very well-timed sound effect there, making this all possible today. Speaking of money, this transfer did cost the Fire more than $500,000, $6 million reported transfer fee to Mexico, which actually, for a young, promising Mexican international out of Liga MX, not bad considering how inflated that market can be. Mm-hmm. That's why the Fire feel like there's potential here. That's why this deal got done. And it's why you don't see more young Mexican stars coming to MLS, because of Mexican teams quoting MLS teams Liga MX prices for their players.
Exactly.
So the fact that the
Yeah.
Fire were able to negotiate this, again, I know people might be a little, not shell-shocked, but like there's so many Nacho Aliseda parallels here. He's going to wear the same number. He's also a young DP. He plays the same position. I think we want to try to be optimistic, though, to Fire fans that all the underlying metrics, so to speak, of this transfer are better. Like there is reason to be hopeful here, even if prior recent experience has you a little jaded about wanting to jump on the wagon too soon.
The kind of fun thing from a marketability standpoint with Jairo too is not only is he Mexican, he's from Guadalajara. A lot of people of the Mexican immigrants in Chicago are from Guadalajara. There's a ton of Atlas fans here, so that's going to be really cool for them to get to see their guy here, hopefully for the next couple of years, scoring a lot of goals and tearing things up.
So the question, though, is, Pat, we're saying have some expectation, but how much expectation do we want to put on Jairo Torres? Because you mentioned this in your opening piece for CHGO, your opening Fire column. You should go read that. Sign up for a subscription. We'll get to more of that later. But are we about to Justin Fields Jairo Torres? And does Chris Mueller's arrival make Jairo Torres' life easier?
Absolutely it does. And then there was, for the longest time, as the team continued to fail to score, there was this, well, we just got to get to May 1st because Jairo's coming. And I'm like, do we really want to do this to this dude? He's 21. Yes, he's had success in Mexico, but he's going to be coming abroad for the first time in a new league with a new team, new teammates, new system, being asked to do something differently than he was doing in Atlas. I'm like, I don't want to kill this kid. And that kind of happened to Nacho Aliseda in some ways. That's the thing that they refer to, that, you know, he struggled for so long to adjust being away from his mom and that sort of thing. I don't get the same sense with Jairo, but Chris Mueller coming as well definitely takes some of the pressure off for sure.
Absolutely. And you know, it's going to be tough, though, to see how fans should evaluate Jairo Torres' performance because, again, like I said earlier, the quiet part's out loud. Everyone is very clear what this transfer is supposed to be. He's going to be expected to contribute immediately and within the not-too-distant future make the club some money. So from a fan's perspective, I'm not really sure how, again, it's kind of the question of how we evaluate this Fire season. How much expectations do you put on them, and how much do you allow Jairo Torres and Chris Mueller coming in to change those expectations based on what we've seen so far?
Yeah, I mean, they're on, 10 points, which I don't think they hit 10 points last season until June or July. I would have to look. I think it was July, actually. It was a much worse start, and even though it feels like they've been just kind of mired in the mud for this start, there was a point when they were second in the East not too long ago where everybody was thinking, oh my God, we've actually got a contender here in Chicago. So for the first time since 17, I mean, I don't know that they were a contender in 17, but they were definitely a playoff team in 17. So it feels different despite the offensive woes, but adding these two dudes is going to be, and again, if you're just joining us, Chris Mueller's here in Chicago. Sources tell me he is undergoing a medical as we speak. They are very confident it's going to happen. 95% was the figure stated to me, but you never, ever know. You don't want to have a David De Gea to Real Madrid fax machine situation here and have it not happen. So, you know, anything could happen. I hope
Are we
not.
using fax machines here at MLS? No.
I mean, somebody just called Logan Roy because Hibbs is his favorite team. I'm sure he can help them get the deal over the line.
You know what?
Get it
And
over
the
the
kid's
line.
bought Hearts.
Well,
he's been disappointed in them for a long time.
Any MLS
obviously.
products at Hearts, any MLS products that we can go pluck out of there? Someone look into that for us. We're going to get to more of what's going on in the past on the field for the Fire. But first, we need to tell you about how to support our work here. And one of the best ways, Pat, is to download the PointsBet app. What do the people need to know about CHGO and PointsBet?
Let me pull it up for you, Alex. The best way to support CHGO is to download the PointsBet app and use code CHGO when you sign up. If you do that right now, you'll get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. But that's not it. If you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you'll receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content, and you'll even get a free t-shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker, which definitely should be the CHGO Fire one, in my opinion, although many of them are cool.
Reorder that shirt.
That's $2,000 in free bets, a free CHGO membership, and a free t-shirt from the CHGO locker, all for making more than a $50 first-time deposit at PointsBet. If you have any questions about this, you can email pointsbet@allchgo.com. We'll help you out there. It's your home for live in-play betting. It just got even better. Introducing PointsBet's new feature, Live NBA Same Game Parlay. For the first time ever, you can build the perfect live NBA Same Game Parlay only with PointsBet. You can combine your favorite bets anytime during the game. You want more? And I know you do. You can also boost your live Same Game Parlays. Watch live, parlay live, boost live with PointsBet. And now, online sign-up is available here in the state of Illinois. You can download the PointsBet app right now and register your account from start to finish, all from your phone. What are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet. Live your bet. Live your bet life. Very clever there.
Live
with
your
PointsBet.
bet life.
Live your
Get
bet
into it,
life
Pat.
with PointsBet. Do you have a gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
And you should also, of course, support all of the work that's going on here at CHGO. Podcasts and live shows, every Chicago team covered every single day. Post-game shows sometimes too, especially for big events. Premium written content like what Pat wrote yesterday. Please read his fire
Would you
stuff.
call what I write premium?
I mean, the read says it's premium, so I'm calling it premium. There's
It's
also
premium.
dope merch
Come
for all the
on.
teams.
Let's
yeah,
go.
Come on. Lawrence gets it. So again, premium merch for all the teams. Those Fire and Red Star shirts are coming soon.
They're sweet.
You should go pre-order one. We're gonna wear them on the show as soon as we have them in our hands. And speaking of the shirts, if you sign up for CHGO right now, you get a free shirt. So you didn't have to go into the shop and buy one. You get a membership, you get a free free shirt. Also, you can get access to the members-only Discord. We've got a Fire dedicated channel on there. Well, we will do our best to try to interact with the conversations going on there. So please go on and support CHGO. Memberships, merch, all that good stuff.
In all seriousness, it costs money to produce good journalism, if you want to call what I do good journalism. If you liked what I did at Hot Time in Old Town, a lot of that stuff is going to be now behind a paywall, which, you know, obviously some people aren't used to. But for me to continue at the pace and the rate that I was putting out the player features and the breaking news and the previews and all that stuff at the old site, that's going to all move over to the new site now. Yes, Alex?
Before we get to the next stuff, Lawrence, do we have a breaking news sound?
I don't know, but I was breaking you off with the Chicago CHGO Fire shirt here. I don't know if you see it on screen.
That's a really good look at the shirt, but we do have some breaking Chris Mueller news.
We do?
We have breaking Chris Mueller news. Hibernian
Hibbs.
Football Club. There it is. That's what
That'll
I wanted.
work.
Hibernian Football Club on Twitter. We can confirm that Chris Mueller has returned to the MLS. The MLS, come on, guys, to join Chicago Fire. So Hibbs is reporting it's done.
Hibbs is stealing the Fire's thunder. You have to believe, MLS being MLS, that they knew this was pretty close, but being that the Seattle Sounders are in the CONCACAF Champions League final tonight, they probably would not want a team's player signing to sort of overstep that, to overshadow that. So thank you, Hibbs, for making it official. According to Hibbs, and according to Logan Roy's favorite team, it's official. Mueller's coming. Now, the question, Alex, is, if they did the Shabilko intro video at a Polish meat market, and they did the Jairo Torres intro party last night in Pilsen, where do you do the Chris Mueller intro? Do you go to Woodfield and just have them do it at the food court at Woodfield? The Schaumburg Portillo's?
The IKEA right off
IKEA.
294. I think might be a good choice.
Olympic Park? Could be fun.
Lots of options. So we will have to wait and see what the A+ Fire content team.
All right,
rolls
as
out.
someone who grew up in Roselle, right near Schaumburg, I would suggest it's got to be the Sbarro at Woodfield Mall. Or just the center of Woodfield Mall where Santa and the Easter Bunny
Yeah, but
usually
give me
are.
like a drone shot coming like through the roof or something. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
I
we
don't
could do
know.
drone
Lots of
shots.
good vibes right now, though, Pat. Unfortunately, the vibes have not been as good on the field so far this season.
It's crazy how this has shifted, isn't it?
It is, like, again, this team, this fan base really, but this team, the Chicago Fire ecosystem needed the jolt this week is bringing, because it's been a bit of a frustrating season, and I think that's been mostly a fan-expressed thing so far. But we saw it maybe spill out over onto the field on Sunday. Fire finished that game against Minnesota down to 9 men. Miguel Navarro and Rafael Chijos both picking up what I'll call silly yellow cards.
Yeah.
Yellow cards where as soon as you commit the foul, the player is already walking to the tunnel because they know exactly what just happened. Hopefully the news this week gives everybody a boost. Rising tide lifts all boats sort of thing. What did you make of seeing the players looking frustrated in kind of the way that fans have been feeling frustrated the last couple weeks?
The most insane stat was pointed out by my guy, Alex Calabrese, who said the Fire have as many second yellow cards this season, 4, as they have non-penalty goals scored.
Also, they haven't scored a non-penalty goal since Shabilko had 2 against Kansas City
March
like
19th.
a month ago.
Yep. It's now May. That was March. We missed April there.
That's 2 months.
Almost.
Not good.
Not good, but you would suspect that things would change soon. But yeah, it's been an amazing season to the vibes at the beginning of the year with the Shaqiri signing and the Shabilko signing, and yes, up. We're thinking we're great. It's 0-0 against Inter Miami, but whatever. That was the first game. Shaqiri just landed in a few days before that. Second game against Orlando. Yeah, they created some chances, but they're not letting goals in, right? Then they start winning a little bit. Things are amazing. They're second in the East, and then bombed out of the U.S. Open Cup. They haven't scored a goal since March 19th. Fans are rightfully starting to beg for help. And that's where the pressure on Jairo Torres went from, we just got to hang in there till Jairo gets here, to this guy has to come in and save us from ourselves, which is, again, too much to ask of a 21-year-old, even as talented as he is. But he's a designated player, right? And if you are going to be a designated player on a designated player salary, even if it is a young DP, which is going to put him significantly less than Gaston and Shaqiri, you have to perform. So, and if his goal is to go to Europe, if he wants to go play for Pep, he's going to need to put the ball in the back of the net. So,
yeah, if you've watched the Fire play this year, and this is both teams combined, a goal is scored in a Fire game this year on average every 70 minutes. That isn't great. Best defense in the league, 7 goals conceded. Worst attack, only 5 scored. So that combo, not wonderful. Again, the vibes at the beginning with Gaga racking up the clean sheets and getting lots of Twitter attention, that was all very nice. So the fans have had some worries, Pat, and it seems like Chris Mueller and Jairo Torres should solve some of those worries. But I do want to pause for a moment. You'd mentioned bombing out of the U.S. Open Cup to Union Omaha. Very young team that night with the exception of Spencer Ritchie in goal. We've heard about all these young homegrowns the Fires have signed, about the academy producing. How concerned right now should fans be that the kids don't seem ready yet?
This is the thing, and I've debated this with friends before. Some of the kids are starting. Gaga's starting.
17-year-old goalkeeper.
Guti's starting a lot of the time and doing well. And when they actually, Pineda was one of the kids in a way. When they actually join the first team and you stop thinking about them as the kid and you start thinking about them as a regular starter, we then look to the rest of the guys who are on Fire 2 or not even getting minutes with Fire 2, a guy like Alan Rodriguez who is barely even playing for Fire 2 at this point, and you go, well, it's a failure. Well, they didn't need to get all of them right.
Mm-hmm.
They needed
no one
to
gets all of them right.
No.
Barcelona doesn't get them all right.
No, they needed to get some of them right, and they did. So I wish that a few more were there contributing, playing, being successful, but they got 2, 3 right now. So you could also argue they got Georgi Mihailovic right. He's just not here anymore. The academy did, at least. So he's an MVP candidate now for another team. So
it's unfortunate. And the bigger picture, and obviously this is stuff I was largely thinking about before the news this week went haywire, does Mueller and Torres coming in, does it give Ezra Hendrickson more time? Has he bought himself more time to keep pressure away? Or has the pressure just gone up for this thing to turn around quickly because you have made those reinforcements?
I don't think that the pressure is really on Ezra yet. Either way, even if they hadn't come in or if they had come in, I don't think he's still too new. And, maybe you argue the pressure is higher on Ezra than it would have been on Wiki. in 2020 because of the level of players, the caliber of players who are here. But you have something. Are you seeing something you need to? What's
I was going to bring up these comments.
The comments
guys.
are getting good. I want to shout out Gary A. Galindo for saying the Chris Mueller interview should happen at medieval times. That's my new favorite
that's
answer.
tremendous.
That's the right answer. So shout out to Gary, and thank you to everybody who's commenting in on the live stream.
Also, James Black, who apparently is watching us from Scotland. He was
James. We know James.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes. All right. So,
Yeah, Sean Maloney was recently sacked as their manager. If you want more fire adjacent Hibs content.
Yeah. We're the Hibs/Fire podcast right now.
Yeah, apparently
Yeah.
we are America's foremost soccer podcast covering Hibernian Football Club. Apparently,
Medieval times.
That's so good.
outstanding.
I need Chris Mueller jousting. Can we get Chris Mueller jousting?
Yeah,
Fire Media people, I know you listen to our
Alex
stuff.
Mueller can get Chris Mueller jousting if anybody can. So it would look amazing too. It'd be the most beautifully shot thing you've ever seen in your life.
So if you're listening, let's make it happen.
Yeah. All right. So I mean, we're talking about frustration, right? And we were talking about before these excellent comments. This is the thing about being new in this chair. By the way, I'm like sinking into this bad boy. It's very comfortable. I feel like taking a nap. But I now see all these comments on the screen, which is amazing. Thank you guys. Keep it up. This is a new thing. I should have been looking there, Alex, but
no, it's I'm here also to help, kind of point
There's
in the right
a lot
direction.
to look at going on.
There is
here.
a lot to look at on that screen. You'll get into it here. And like I said, we're new. It's fine.
we're just rolling with it here.
CHGO Fire Podcast.
we're having a good time. Let's have a good time.
Yeah, let's have a good time. And somebody who's been having a good time for the most part this season, we mentioned him a couple times briefly, is Gaga Slonina. And we've got a lot to talk about with Gaga coming up in a minute. But first, we have our points bet pick of the week.
Oh, what is it?
And Pat, we're looking ahead to the weekend. Premier League is coming down to the wire. There's a lot at stake for a lot of teams.
Fourth place trophies are at stake.
Including for Arsenal. And on the other
Yes.
end, Leeds United are trying to avoid the drop. Jesse Marsh, American, Southern Wisconsin, former Chicago Fire. Lots of relation there. They're taking each other on this weekend. And Pat, Leeds just don't want to change their style. They're going to go forward, hell for leather. They're not going to defend very much. Arsenal have been good attacking-wise lately. Arsenal also always a bit suspect to have a very random goal go in.
Settle down,
wrong
Alex.
end.
Settle down out there.
Sorry, Lawrence. So I am saying that our points bet pick of the week is over 3.5 total goals in this weekend's Leeds versus Arsenal match. Currently,
I love it. You're saying a 4-0 Arsenal victory.
4-0 to the
let's go
Arsenal.
with
Let's
that.
go.
That works. That would hit the points bet pick of the week and make our listeners and us very happy.
Fantastic.
Currently at plus 140, so there is maybe some money to be made. There's the money sounder. Thank you, Lawrence. Arsenal fighting for fourth. Leeds United fighting for their very Premier League survival.
Just so you know where we stand, guys, I'm a Gooner. Lawrence is a Gooner. Alex likes Russian oligarch-backed teams.
I like formerly Russian oligarch-backed teams.
Victoria Concordia Crescent, everyone.
Beautiful. I love
Victory
it. Victory through harmony.
And the thing that really makes me confident here, Pat, Leeds, worst defense in the Premier League, worse than Norwich. They have shipped 72 goals. See if they can ship a few more for us this weekend. But Jesse Marsh, please don't get relegated. That would make us all very sad.
That would make me sad. Very sad. But I cannot cheer for him.
I mean, he just got there. It's not that sad. It's not his fault they're going down.
No,
He
it's
got like a 5-year contract, dude, so he's probably staying if they go down. Anyway,
I can't believe how fast this podcast is going.
time flies
Hey,
when you're having fun.
Sam Fredericks here in the comments saying, awesome to see that this is a thing. Cool to match a face with your writing, Patrick. Keep up the awesome work.
Thank you.
Thank you,
you.
Sam.
I'm not just a guy who writes words on a screen. I can also,
And Sam, you'll notice that our two guys here, Alex and Patrick, have gone with the Men in Blazers look.
we have
Team bald.
We
Team
did.
bald.
You know, there's never been a soccer podcast with two bald guys.
No,
before,
never.
so-
Very, very original idea we're
Yeah,
concocting
yeah,
here. So, yes, just trailblazers here at CHGO Fire. All right, Pat. Gaga Slonina, he has been in the news for he's had 2 different news cycles this year. The first news cycle was those 4 or 5 consecutive clean sheets. All the stats get tweeting out, breaking records for youngest player to ever do that.
Yeah.
And then the Polish national team had to get involved and set off a bit of a dual national panic.
They gave him the jersey at the Union Omaha game. He held it up. It got people wondering, is he going to go to Poland? Is he not going to play for Greg with the United States, which is, Gaga's got to do what feels right for him, right? And I will say, he's got kind of this where is he going to land from a club standpoint, which So the cycle with the club thing, really before we get into international choice, the cycle with the club team tends to be this. Somebody on Twitter says that some club is interested in Gaga. And then I call my people at the Fire and they say, well, they haven't made an offer. There was an agreed to terms with, what was it, Southampton? Yeah, the other day. And I call my guys at the Fire. I'm like, well, they haven't made an offer. But they could both be true, right? His agent could be making deals with these European teams. Gaga could have agreed to go, but there still needs to be the sale.
Also, transfer window not currently open in Europe. So, again, these things are different. And
yeah, again, July 7th, I believe, is the...
Yeah, and there's going to be a loan back agreement of some sort if Gaga is sold. So, yeah, to your point, not mutually exclusive options and a several-step process if it were to happen.
The thing that I like, though, is that the Fire's, at least it seems right now, their intent is not to hold him back. They are very aware of the fact that he's going to go. He should go. He needs to go. They're aware of their position in the ecosystem, sort of like what we talked about with Jairo Torres, which is what they pitched to him, apparently. Gaga needs to go to Europe. We all know that needs to happen, and it should happen. The Fire are going to make a lot of money when it does. He's under contract. They just took his option, so he's under contract until the end of 2023. So any deal would get them some money, and then, like you said, it would probably be a loan back, you would hope. And if it's not, Chris Brady's there and ready to roll. So
also, we don't know the exact terms, but that year extension does get Gaga off his homegrown deal, so a little more actual adult money for 17-year-old Gaga Slonina.
I think he still lives at home in Addison and takes the garbage out, as far as I understand.
Hey, it means he gets to bank all that money then.
Yes.
So, hey, it's not a bad gig at 17 if you can get it. A quick background on Gaga for those who aren't extremely familiar. Born, raised, grown up in Addison, Illinois. Mm-hmm. His parents are Polish immigrants, so that is how you get the dual national situation. Gaga's made 9 appearances for U.S. youth international teams. That would be a lot more if not for COVID, because he had a whole lot of goalkeeping opportunities at the youth national level slated for him going into 2020 and probably 2021 before that all fell apart. So, yeah, but it's going to be interesting to see.
I need to ask about the name Gaga. Is he
I have asked this question many times, and the only answer I've gotten is that that's what he was called. It's like a family name. And that's what he's been called since he was little.
It's also his name on social media, so he's self-identifying with Gaga. Tony Meola on the broadcasts calls him Gabby. I don't know if that's just a Tony thing, like shortening Gabrielle, because, I mean, I don't hear anyone call him Gabrielle. That's just not a thing I think I've, heard anywhere.
When I address him in the news conferences, I say, Gaga, what do you think about this? Gaga, what's for sushi Sunday?
So I think we'll really find out is, if and when he goes to a big European team, you got to do that YouTube intro video where you get asked the same 10 questions everyone gets asked in those videos. And so I think he'll have a chance maybe then to clear it up a bit. But again, he's a 17-year-old kid. At some point, he could hit age 21 and decide that Gaga's a kid thing and he hates it. And so we might just all have to go with the flow on that.
I mean, we'll see if he keeps his poker face. See? Yeah.
I see what you did there.
Thank you.
I see what you did there.
Hey, all right, hold on. Lady Gaga has my last name tattooed on her right arm, okay? Because she loves Tony Bennett. Tony Bennett, his real last name is Benedetto, because that's how he signs all his artwork. And that is my last name as well. And therefore, Lady Gaga and I, we share my last name, I guess. I don't really know what to say there, but yeah.
That's beautiful.
That was going somewhere. Anyway, Gaga has a choice, though, at least an initial choice to make, Pat. There are international fixtures, friendlies, and also Nations League games being played in June, both on this hemisphere and in the other one. Poland and the U.S. men's national team are both expected to call Gaga Slonina into their respective camps for this window. So before we get too panicky, if he plays one game for either of them, that does not shut the door. FIFA introduced some new rules. This threw off the Yunus Musa conversation a lot. Basically, the long and the short of it is the only way you can get cap tied by playing one game is if it is at the World Cup or if it is at the finals tournament of continent-level competition. So for this discussion purposes,
the Gold Cup
or the Euros, or a Nations League finals where it's those last 4 teams only, or a World Cup. So no one game in this window, if Gaga plays for the U.S. or Poland, is finishing the discussion.
Otherwise, it's 3. Is that correct?
3 appearances.
Okay.
If you make 3 appearances of any sort before you're 22, these rules all change once you hit 22 again. Then I think it's still like the traditional thing of if you start and play like a 90, you're done. So unless Gaga plays like every game in a window for Poland or the U.S. in June, which is not going to happen, this isn't going to end here, but we're going to get a lot of data on where Gaga's head might be at, depending on how he chooses to approach it.
I will say the Polish Federation did appear to put the hard sell on him. They were all in. Not that, obviously Greg brought him in for a World Cup window, so
just to
World
have him
Cup
tag along, and
yeah.
we've seen that a lot from Greg. It's people will complain about Greg Berhalter, and we're not going to get into a Greg discussion. But the thing you can't really question Berhalter on is, especially the dual nats.
Yeah,
just young guys in general, even if they're only eligible to represent the U.S., bringing the young kids in and just exposing them to the atmosphere.
Yeah, I like it. I thought Greg did the right thing, and you weren't going to let him play if things were a little bit different and maybe there was a game that didn't mean as much. And I argued that if Matt Turner and Zach Steffen and Sean Johnson or whoever the pecking order may be, if they were all hurt, I would have trusted Gaga to play. Even at Azteca, I believe he's that good and he's that mature for his age. So I asked Ezra the same thing in a news conference, and not that Ezra's not going to say that, but he backed him up and said, yeah, I would trust him to play too. So, but it would have been cool if Greg was able to give him a game somehow. That didn't work out. He managed things the right way and got the U.S. in the World Cup, but next step's got to be figuring out a way to get him to stay here, because he's going to be the number one for a very long time, you would think. We've got a graphic here showing the situation.
It's muddy right now. You've got Zach Steffen in poor form. Matt Turner just returned to the field this past weekend for New England Revolution.
He's going to Arsenal then. And then do we expect he's going to be a starter there over Ramsdale?
No, he's going to be like Zach Steffen.
Yeah.
He's going to be like Zach Steffen. He's going to get cup games. Ethan Horvath looked like he had the starting job at Nottingham Forest, and then he lost it by going to U.S. camp, and somehow that was worthy of him losing that job. The goalkeeper situation at Nottingham Forest has been weird. Basically, if Samba or Horvath leaves the building for like 5 minutes, it seems they lose their job. So that's weird. We don't know if Horvath's going to try to get another move this summer. Sean Johnson, Fire legend, kind of me, not legend, maybe just soft spot in Fire hearts.
Yeah.
Because the goalkeepers until Gaga have been never as good as Sean Johnson. Only 9 caps, but he's kind of been like locked in as that third goalkeeper for a while now. So again, that U.S. situation, murky. It's really hard to see exactly how it's going to play out in the coming years. Whereas on the Poland side, it is very cut and dry what is going on here with the Poland goalies.
Smoking Wojciech Szczesny.
Wojciech Szczesny and Łukasz Fabianski have been kind of a tandem there.
So much Arsenal there.
I know.
The better
it's
part
a very Arsenal-y show, Lawrence.
Yes. For the last part of 15 years, Poland have known we can pick either one of these guys in between the sticks. We're going to be fine. But you look at the age there. Fabianski's 37. Szczesny's still somehow only 32. That guy feels like he's been around for absolutely
because
forever.
He was amazing, and then Arsenal let him go to Roma, or wherever the hell they sent him off to, and I was like, damn it, I love Shez.
Arsene didn't like the cigarettes.
Yeah, but who doesn't love cigarettes in Europe? Come on, Arsene.
So he sent him to Italy, where it was a little more appropriate, probably.
But yeah, Łukasz Skorupski, 30 years old, guy kind of in the Sean Johnson mold of older dude who sticks around. Yeah. They've got 4 additional goalkeepers who are all young, who all have kind of been that guy, kind of like a Horvath in a way, who kind of gets brought along. None of them has more than 1 cap. So Poland does not have a successor immediately and obviously lined up for Szczesny and Fabianski. The question, though, is Szczesny's probably got 1 more World Cup ahead of him. So it's not like Gaga is going to Poland because he's going to start. He would be going to Poland with the message of 5 years from now, you're the guy. But, that's maybe a risky bet to make versus going into the U.S. picture where the message is, we have no idea how soon you might start.
Right. So there's a few things at play here. Where will he feel most comfortable? And while he is Polish, he is also an American, so you might think here. There's always a situation with immigrant kids where they might want to make their parents proud and play for their parents' home country. That's a big, big deal that we can't overlook. There's also when he's playing in Europe, where does he want to then go for his international games? Does he want a trip back to the States? Does he want a local sort of quick trip that's a little bit easier to manage? Biggest thing of all, though, is where is he going to play? And I think that you would think that both federations are telling him, you're our future number one.
It's just the path to get there in Poland seems obvious, whereas the path in the U.S., you never know if Zach Steffen or Matt Turner gets a loan next year, goes and starts at a decent level team, and plays awesome. Well, then what?
Or if Aaron Ramsdale gets hurt and suddenly Matt Turner is thrust into the role of Premier League starter and he does well, then yeah,
you're going to play
sorry,
Matt
Gaga.
Turner.
Matt Turner's your number one. So
let's not put that out in the world, please. Don't put that evil
nefarious
out there.
energy.
Yeah, true.
So lots of questions to be answered. We will see how it's going for Gaga. Decisions to be made. It's going to be quite the summer for him between wherever he chooses to go, that transfer window opening up. We're starting to wind things down here on this first episode of CHGO Fire. Speaking of episodes of CHGO soccer shows, CHGO Red Stars premieres this Friday. Check that out. Tune in. Follow wherever you get your podcasts. Very excited to see what Claire and Sandra cook up
Literally
over there
the two best people we could have gotten
for that.
to cover the Red Stars
Yeah,
are here at CHGO.
Yeah, CHGO doing the work there. For the Fire, Saturday night, Atlanta United on the road on WGN and wherever you normally track or live Fire content. Next home game, the following Saturday night game in Cincinnati. I don't know if you can call a game must win this early in the season, but I'll say it might be a good game to go to as a fan because the Fire will be at home on a Saturday night in a game they might be favored to win, just saying.
And maybe it'll be more than 50 degrees by then.
Hey, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
I see the sun.
Yeah,
I mean,
what
that's
is
a
that?
good start.
It's allegedly going to be in the 80s next week.
Yeah,
maybe?
I don't believe. Yeah, we'll
right.
see about that. That the Cincinnati game reminds me of the Cincinnati game last year, which was the absolutely most dreadful post-game news conference of the season, where
It was also the Cincinnati home loss was also the most dreadful news conference of the previous season.
it was. That's true. It was basically so. Rafa, is this it? Are you done? Are you done now?
It was just like the Velko interview,
it was-
the Panovich interview from like
It
2019.
was so. It was beyond the point of even being like a controversial question. It was like I think
Rafa knew.
Yeah, everybody knew. Rafa was always super cool. I think he still lives in Chicago. Maybe he's watching. I doubt it. But if you are, hi Rafa. But yeah, he was always super cool with any question you asked him. And I remember asking Bobby Shuttleworth, and he was emphatic that the players had not quit on Rafa, which is, I don't know that was the case for all of the players.
The veterans seemed to generally have good rapport there.
Yeah. He was a good player manager. He just maybe it kind of felt like he kind of lost control of some things in that locker room last year. But he was when I feel like that's where Ezra kind of has a little more command, maybe. But that's my vibe from the outside. But yeah, things to maybe look forward to. Hopefully, a happier Fire versus Cincinnati experience on that Saturday night. Speaking of things coming up, Pat, what can the watchers, the listeners, look forward to on your Fire coverage? Well, I got a feeling there's going to be a Chris Mueller article coming very soon.
Seems very likely.
Yeah, I would peg that down, and then we're going to probably do a little preview of the Atlanta match. And if there's a surprise signing that gets across the line tonight, we'll throw that in too. But it's going to be a lot of the stuff that you're used to from me, only at here at allchgo.com, all CHGO. It's I love this place so far. It's a fun place. I cannot believe this podcast is almost over.
Yeah, I was going to say, before we say goodbye, I want to point out this comment from Gary who says, so glad we have Fire representation at CHGO. Just signed up to be a part of the CHGO family for a year and ordered my Fire shirt. Let's go, Gary. Thank you.
Gary,
We did our job. We have successfully done our job. We have turned content into money.
I love it, Gary. TJ wants to know where's Pat's hat. I'm known for wearing hats on other
We
shows.
both kind of are hat people. I don't know if it's the baldness or if we
I
just
don't
think
want to
we
be
look-
like Kenny Chesney where I'm bald and I'm hiding the fact that I'm bald. And
No ball denial here.
I'm not going to wear a cowboy hat. I know that, but
yeah, so no, it's again we're gonna mix up the wardrobe. I think a bit. I think the soccer kit collection in my closet is going to do well on this podcast. Shout out to Edgewater Castle for this one from last year. Lots of local semi-pro and lower-level pro Chicago soccer getting under week here in the coming weeks. Support your local club. And we would appreciate if you support us. Thank you for watching on YouTube.
Yeah.
Thanks to everyone who's been in the comments. Please subscribe to CHGO Fire wherever you are getting your podcasts, and you can tune in right here again, same time, same place next week. Pat, you got anything else for the people?
You know what? I've had the greatest 45 minutes of the week right here and now in Studio A at CHGO doing this with you, Alex. This has been a lot of fun. I think we should keep coming back and doing this every week.
I would not mind making this a very regular thing, and we can only do that with your support. So again, thank you so much for those of you who are already on board. Tell your friends, share it around. We just want to keep this thing growing as much as we can. So for Pat McCraney, I am Alex Campbell. This has been CHGO Fire, and we will see you back here next week.